In this our 60th year, Madam Speaker, we're going to take steps to ensure that each Jamaican can claim their birthright, starting with their birth certificate.
That's right. The Registrar General's Department will be providing free birth certificates to undocumented Jamaicans who belong to households which earn less than $37,000 monthly. It's the 60th year of our political independence. Claim your birthright. Unlock new opportunities. Play your part as we reignite our great nation. Your favorite magazine program continues with a word of advice, followed by the news.
It's absolutely critical that we receive the vaccines. You will see hospitalizations and indeed deaths likely come down. And so there is a lot of value to be gained by getting as many vulnerables on board as possible. So tell your mothers, tell your aunts, listen out for yourselves if you're over 60, and take the vax, because the vax is what will help you to guard against the COVID virus and indeed help your relatives, your friends, those who you come in contact with for the same benefit.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, May 30, 2022. Jamaica's first adult transitional facility for homeless persons has been opened in downtown Kingston. The state-of-the-art facility was officially opened on Friday by Prime Minister Andrew Holness. The King Street-based facility was transformed from an abandoned dental office into a modern homeless center. The Prime Minister says the new facility, which will operate on a 24-hour basis, will set an example of the high quality of care that our poor and vulnerable citizens deserve.
Homelessness is a devastating, dangerous, and isolating reality for too many Jamaicans. It is anticipated that this facility will set an example of service excellence with regard to the improved care offerings to the poor and vulnerable.
Pointing out that over 60% of Jamaica's homeless population is in Kingston and St. Andrew, Mr. Holness says there are plans to increase the facility's capacity. It can currently house 40 occupants, and the intention is to add another floor and increase the capacity to 100. The transitional living facility is named in honor of local government minister Desmond McKenzie, who first began advocating for such a development when he was councillor and mayor of Kingston. Minister McKenzie, who expressed happiness that the dream is finally a reality, says those for whom it is built are entitled to the care and protection of their government and country.
This is what we need to do to respond to the plight of these people. Many of them, Prime Minister and colleagues, contribute to the growth and development of Jamaica. Many of them were taxpayers. We're putting in a therapeutic park. We're putting in facilities here that they can come and enjoy the comfort of a home, because they deserve to be remembered for the role they play.
The Desmond McKenzie Transitional Center for the Homeless is one of 3 transitional living facilities for the homeless being developed in the country. The other 2 are being built in Falmouth, Trelawney, and Ocho St. Anne. West Central St. Andrew is the latest constituency to receive free public access to high-speed broadband internet. The $20 million infrastructure was unveiled Thursday along Olympic Way in the area. Community members in the Tower Hill, Malines, and Coburn Gardens divisions have also been connected to internet under the program. A separate Wi-Fi infrastructure was installed at the Seawood Primary and Junior High School. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the move is part of government's thrust to create a digital society.
The government has 2 strategic interventions. One is to get devices into the hands of those who can't afford them, which we have been doing with our children. So once we give it to the children, then it becomes available to the household. And then secondly, is to get the schools connected so that you can use the smart devices, and then to get internet access in the public domain, particularly in public areas, so that if you need to do transactions, you can do them online because you don't have to worry about connectivity.
The Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ, has provided financial support of over $300 million to help build local micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, ecosystem. The funds have been distributed under the different portfolios of the Boosting Innovation, Growth and Entrepreneurship Ecosystems BIGGI program. It includes over $150 million in grants to 27 MSMEs and $157 million to 225 businesses to digitize their operations and aid economic recovery from COVID-19. $63 million was used for capacity development, while 15 teams of entrepreneur students at the tertiary level were assisted with $6 million in startup funds. Project manager for the BIGGI program, Chris Brown, says the aim is to support business along all stages of the development process.
We're going to help drive innovation, productivity amongst these businesses by providing grants, technical assistance, access to equity financing, the institutional strengthening, which is the ensuring that the institutions who serve businesses, your incubators, accelerators, that they are operating at a standard that can create game-changing MSMEs out of it.
Mr. Brown was speaking at the recent signing of a non-reimbursable financing agreement between the government and European Union for €7 million under the EU's Caribbean Investment Facility. A comprehensive review and renovation of markets is to begin this year. Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Desmond McKenzie, made the disclosure during his recent sectoral presentation in Parliament.
We have heard the pleas of the vendors for better facility from which they can conduct business. We recognize them as important players in the economic life of the country.
In the meantime, Minister McKenzie says Phase 3 of the Clarkstown Market in Trelawney, which was completed in the last financial year, will be officially opened on June 16. In Hanover, a major renovation of the Hopewell Market is now completed. A full overhaul of sanitary facilities, plumbing and electrical infrastructure was done at a cost of $24 million.
We're going to be moving, Madam Speaker, to ensure that this market come on stream as quickly as possible.
And finally, a task force is being set up to facilitate a national cleanup program for the country. Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Desmond McKenzie, will spearhead the task force along with other ministers of government. He says the goal is to restore public order in the society.
As a country, we need to have some civic pride. We're seeing where developers carrying out construction has taken all of our sidewalks, our bus stops. They deposit the sand, the gravel on the ground. The public cannot access the roadways, Madam Speaker. The sidewalks are taken.
The minister, who was making his sectoral presentation in Parliament, also revealed that the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, had collected just over 903,000 tons of waste in the last fiscal year at a cost of $850.3 million. He added that a mobile app developed in 2021 to report littering in public spaces and illegal dumping continued to generate significant support. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Tropical Storm Hugo has been upgraded to a hurricane and is expected to impact Jamaica. A hurricane warning is now in effect.
Wait! Did you know there are a few steps that have to be taken before a hurricane advisory is issued? Once a tropical cyclone has formed in the Atlantic or the Caribbean, the Met Service monitors it and puts plans in place in the likelihood that the system will affect Jamaica.
Hugo. We required additional staffing, especially for the...
These include increasing the number of technical staff working at the National Meteorological Center and the number of upper air observations daily, and ensuring that the weather and technical equipment in the office are fully functional. They are in constant dialogue with the National Hurricane Center in the United States, which provides regular updates on the system. Once the Met Service does an assessment and determines that the system is a threat to Jamaica, the following will unfold.
Yes, Prime Minister Holness. Yes, Evan Thompson here from the Met Service. I'm really just calling to update you on the situation with Hurricane Hugo. It continues to move closer to the island, and so we believe that it will be necessary for us to move to that hurricane warning. So we're just making sure that we have your approval.
Then?
Hello, yes, hurricane specialist, please. Hi, how are you doing? Evan here again from Jamaica. Right, I've just spoken with the Prime Minister. He's in agreement that we go to the hurricane warning by 5 o'clock this evening. That's correct.
The National Hurricane Center publicizes this information internationally, and the Met Service prepares and sends bulletins to the local media. And that is how we get here.
A hurricane warning is now in effect for the island.
And as the country prepares for the weather system, the Met Service continues to play a critical role in the country's disaster readiness, providing information to the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management and the local government ministry. These entities use this information to determine which areas on the island should be evacuated and where shelters should be opened. That's not all. The Met Service also works closely with the Coast Guard to evacuate fishermen at sea, on the quays and banks before the storm hits. That is how the Met Service keeps Jamaicans in the know so that they can better prepare for any severe weather system.
Government is intent on transforming Jamaica into a digital society, and that transformation is hinged on the National Identification System NIDS. Get an update on the works that are ongoing from Minister without Portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister, Floyd Green.
Our national identification system will provide a safe, convenient, reliable means for persons to prove their identity, while aiding the furtherance of digitization of the government. It will reduce bureaucracy. It will encourage efficiency. It will make the life of our citizens easier. Our software to power our card rollout, which includes enrollment, vetting, pre-enrollment, card personalization, is about 90% complete. And we expect it will be completed over the next 2 months. We have more excellent news. Our National Identification Card Production Center is 97% complete. We have taken the same high priority approach to the security of the card itself. Other cards that we utilize have about 12 security features. The National Identification Card will have 26 security features, spanning level 1, 2, and 3. The National Identification Card is a polycarbonate card with the identity data engraved, which means that no one can physically alter the card without it being noticeable. There will be a period of sensitization where persons can be up to date with the visible level 1 security features, similar for what is being done for our local currency. The question still remains, what do the cards look like? It is a unique layout. It has the national symbols embedded, the coat of arms, the Dr. Bird, the national flag, the Aki, Madam Speaker. It is truly a national identification card. Special provisions will be made for persons with disability on the National Identification System. We have met and we've deliberated with the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, and we have agreed on using the international access sign to represent persons with disabilities at the rear of the National Identification Card. But it will be optional if they opt to have the sign on the back of the card. They will have that choice. There are more benefits. Once you're a JP, on the rear of the card, there will be a designation that says JP. There's another big advantage. When we think digital, we are ensuring that we make the lives of Jamaicans easier and more hassle-free. We know that with the absence of a holistic database for verification, it is very difficult for persons who are doing business or opening accounts with commercial entities like banks. Through the National Identification System, we are helping the unbanked to handle their needs. In another 2 weeks, the government of Jamaica will be signing a memorandum of understanding with our financial institutions to participate in the National Identification System pilot. Already all 10 members of the Jamaica Bankers Association have expressed an intent to sign the MOU. The inclusion of our banks will ensure that there is a simplified process when opening bank accounts using the National Identification System. We are moving to a stage where we want the entire process almost to be done online using our National Identification System. An implementation task force has been established to provide innovative and strategic direction for the adoption of the National Identification Card in the private and public sectors. The National Identification System is only a part of our people-centered transformation being led by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Hey Anna, what's up?
Girl, me just get someone for jury duty, but me don't want to have anything to do with courthouse.
This is your chance to help someone get justice. Plus, you can learn about the court system and serve your country.
And since when a regular somebody like me get called for jury duty?
Well, once you're between 18 and 70, your name is on the voters list, or you have a TRN, them can summon you.
Contact the Court Administration Division for further information at 876-754-8337 or visit the Supreme Court website at www.supremecourt.gov.jm.
Brought to you by the Justice Undertakings for Social Transformation Program, a project funded by Global Affairs Canada.
There's this vast yet ever-growing network of connected things, causing meaningful disruption even in the transportation industry, and that's the Internet of Things. Beyond your ride-sharing services, scheduling and routing company vehicles, or the cashless bus and rail services, life-changing technological advancements are engineering safety features and interactive designs to improve the transportation experience. Life-changing technological innovations, such as the TravelPal app, is one way through which the Transport Authority is revolutionizing the industry of movement.
The TravelPal application is an application used or developed, I should say, to empower the commuting public to know that they're entering into a licensed vehicle by the Transport Authority. That's it in a nutshell, to know if it's a licensed vehicle of the Transport Authority and also to make sure that they are safe in the vehicle. The need for the application, TravelPal application, came 5 or 4 years ago when the management team of the Transport Authorities tried somehow, some way to let the commuting public know that they're entering into a public passenger vehicle that is licensed, not just by looking at the red plate alone. Having a red plate on a vehicle doesn't mean that you're licensed. Yes, you have been licensed, but we want to know if you're currently licensed. So we try to find a way to let the commuting public know that they're actually entering into a currently licensed public passenger vehicle. And if not, what they can do with that as well.
The features that characterize this app are necessary for our social climate and quite revolutionary.
Features of the TravelPal application are 1, the sharing of the application, 2, the verification of the vehicle that you're going in. Once you download the application, all that's needed is the registration of your phone number Once the registration of your phone number is done, you put in a license plate, verify the license plate information. For example, you will put in the license plate PP1234, and then you can verify the owner information, you can verify the driver information if it's available, you can verify the license information. You can then share that information with loved ones, your mother, father, whoever you want to share information with of the trip. And you can also, in the event that something happens, you can also push a panic button and share that trip information and location with loved ones as well. Those are the main features. Features that will be coming in the TravelPal application in the coming weeks or months is that we're going to be interfacing with the JCF, Jamaica Constabulary Force 119 Center. So once you push that panic button on the application, it will no longer send information only to your loved ones, but it will also send a signal into the 119 centers of the JCF as well. More features that will be coming are, for example, point system, where if you share the app multiple times, you'll be able to get, whether it be prizes or if you want to have gifts given away. We also have that as well in the application. So there are two main features coming.
And as for further developments with our telecommunication providers?
The agreement between our telecommunication providers right now is that they are working to make the application free. They are working to have it data free. So for example, once you have a smartphone, you don't have any data or credit on your phone, you still be able to use the application regardless of where in the country you are. So that is work in progress. It is being worked on right now with both Flow and Digicel.
And for your peace of mind, the $2.3 billion TravelPal app, which has been attracting hundreds of persons using public passenger vehicles, manages your data with high security standards.
The security of the information on the TravelPal application is done twofold. We have a data security advisor through the company that developed the application. The licensed database is stored at the government database center locally in-house, and the storage of your location details is not done at all unless you push that panic button into the 119 center, and then that's where the 119 center will then be able to locate your information. But once you end the trip, that's the end of the storage of the data.
The Ministry of Transport and Mining's TravelPal app is creating something for the safety and security of the commuting public. The app is free to download and free to use. Let's start our route to safety today. Prime Minister Andrew Holness recently handed over the 67th home under the National Social Housing Program, NSHP. The program is aimed at increasing access to housing among needy Jamaicans. Find out more in this next feature.
Providing safe, adequate and affordable shelter has always been a preoccupation of the government. This commitment can be seen through the mandates of the National Housing Trust, the Housing Agency of Jamaica and the Jamaica Mortgage Bank. The thrust to provide housing for all Jamaicans can also be seen through the work of the Ministry of Local Government and now the National Social Housing Program. The National Social Housing Program is an extension of the Housing Opportunity Production and Employment Program, HOPE. It was developed in 2018 to improve the housing conditions of the country's poor and indigent.
The idea is to support the development of affordable housing solutions right across Jamaica.
The National Social Housing Program, NSHP, achieves its objectives in three ways.
The first is the provision of indigent housing. The benefits will be equitably distributed across 63 constituencies, with each constituency receiving 5 units per annum. Then there is the relocation of vulnerable communities, persons whose lives are in imminent danger will be given priority attention. And then the third modality is the upgrading of tenements, or as we call them, big yards. One such project will be undertaken in each constituency where we can identify tenement yards.
The Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation has oversight for the NHSP, which is administered by a secretariat. Formed in 2019, the secretariat is headed by National Director Danville Walker. The NHSP delivered its first house in 2019. Since then, 29 houses have been completed at a cost of $250 million. They include 12 three-bedrooms, 11 two-bedrooms, 2 one-bedroom units, and 1 tenement yard, which impacted 3 families. With over 70 persons benefiting from the new social housing program, plans are in place to give even more Jamaicans similar access. 15 units are currently under construction and are on track to be completed by July.
The program is designed to address people who are in need, people who can't get houses going the regular method, but it is also designed to bring hope to communities that are in need of such interventions. So if we can make an impact on this kind of housing situation, then we would have started well down the road to address the issue of housing poverty.
Today's Here This is a little history lesson. So much of the focus of this show has been around ideas that are changing the way we do things. We now take a little step back in time to look at some not so modern developments that have been improving our way of life. Ready? Let's go. The printing press. Before the rise of the internet, the printing press was the most popular way for spreading information and knowledge. By copying books, a single printing press could create as many as 3,600 pages per day. By 1600, over 200 million new books were printed and made affordable for the lower classes due to this innovation. The compass. It made the biggest impact on early navigation and exploration and was widely used by mariners and navigators in earlier times. Today, while we rely on satellites and GPS, it was first the compass that provided explorers with a reliable method for traversing the world. Electric light. Many of us may take this for granted until a short-lived power outage reminds us of the importance of artificial lights. Electric lights developed throughout the 1800s, thanks to the efforts of inventors like Thomas Edison and Joseph Wilson Swan, who patented the first long-lasting light bulbs in 1879 and 1880. Electric lights went on to be used in a lot of things, from home lighting and street lights to flashlights and car headlights. As we commemorate our 60th year of independence, we urge you to use the technology available nowadays to reignite our great nation, as we continue our quest to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. And that's all the time we have left here on today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for another information-packed program, packaged with you in mind. We are available at your convenience online. There's our YouTube channel, our website, our pages on all the major social media platforms, and there's our mobile app that's smartphone compatible. You may keep the lines of communication open by dropping us a line. Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you so much for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.